the morning.
There you go.
Here we are, episode 21. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, AI agents, bots, Sybils, farmers, and friends from all over the world. It is great to be here with you on Monad in the morning every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Intern, it's a big day today. We've got an action-packed lineup. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I think whenever the market heats up like it's doing right now, shout out the market.
Shout out the market.
Shout out the market for heating up. Whenever the market heats up, most people just want to talk about trading. And we have two amazing guest lineups today to talk about trading. Armani, who runs Backpack, the wallet, and the exchange. And we have Kuru hopping on the stream today. So essentially order books. We got trading aficionados. I'm really excited. I've been using a new app called Ostium. Pretty sick. Maybe worth checking out if you enjoy US equities and leverage. It's just fun to trade when the market is so ridiculous like this.
It is fun. It is fun to long when everyone else is longing.
Being long when everyone's long is the best feeling that exists in crypto.
It's so great. Also, crypto group chats are 10 times more fun when maybe 100 times more fun when the market is marketing.
When the market markets, it is the best feeling in crypto. We have big, I actually didn't even, I'm like LARPing right now. I didn't even check the charts besides the Qs, which typically only go up. Yeah, we're sitting around 118,000 Bitcoin. We had Pump Fun happened. That was my first meaningful liquidation in a while. So shout out Pump Fun for liquidating me. What else do we have going on? Ethereum coming back. Let's go. Solana making a run. Everyone's kind of hopping in.
Yeah, pretty good, man.
The chat wants to know. Actually, they don't, but I'm sure they do. What is the criteria this week for the wheel? Danny?
Great question.
It's a really
chat.
good question.
And speaking of great questions, the best way to win a spin on Monad in the morning is to ask good questions throughout the show. Like Kevin was saying, we've got some great guests coming up. We've got Armani joining us. Awesome opportunity. Little AMA. We'll sprinkle in some community questions for sure. Second half of the show, we're going to have the Kuru team join, including Fravashi, 0x Fravashi, I believe his first time on the pipeline. So very excited to have Fravashi on. And we've got Cozy leading growth over at Kuru joining us as well in the second half of the show. So if you are tuning in and you want a spin on this beautiful, colorful wheel, well, stay tuned to the chat, ask some good questions, and if we ask your question live on air, we will pick you. Or also, you could drop an insightful comment, or third option, you could make a great clip and post it on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram or another social media platform. We appreciate that and would be glad to give you a spin if you put out a great clip. I think we'll give some clips or some spins rather to people who clipped last week.
Yeah. I think we got to up the stakes because we want to see clipping. We don't see a lot of clipping. The best clip from the show today, we'll retweet off of the Monad main account, over 1 million followers. You'll get a bunch of followers. It'll be huge. So if you want a bunch of followers and you want a bunch of likes and you want a bunch of attention, and that is how you get your rocks on Twitter, put your clips out there. We got to see the clips coming in.
The stakes are high today. Wow. That's because I also promised, I said whoever gets the most likes the most views on a clip from today's stream will also send you a merch pack from Monad Foundation and a pipeline hat as well. So if you like good merch,
Danny Pipelines will personally sign it.
Sure. That might actually decrease.
If you want your hat ruined. Also, after this show, Bill Mondays is going to be hosting a Wheel Anonymous, where if you're just itching to spin the wheel, it's tearing lives apart. Apparently, he's been saying that in the chat here, and so he's going to be hosting Wheel Anonymous for anybody who's struggling.
Wheel Anonymous.
Wheels Anonymous. All right. Is Armani queued up? I'm itching to talk to Armani.
Yep.
All right. Open position.
Beautiful. Armani, can you hear us? Can you see us? How's it going?
Hear you loud and clear. How's it going, guys?
Fantastic. It's awesome to have you on. We've got some lore. I don't know if you actually remember, but almost a full 2 years ago, I started this Twitter account, which became the Pipeline eventually. It was not originally called the Pipeline. And I invited you on when I was hanging out in the Monad community, having a good time in the early days before I joined the team here. And we did a Monad in the Morning Twitter space. And that was the first live Twitter space, podcast, what have you, that we ever did on the channel that ultimately became the Pipeline. So it's awesome to have you back. And now we get it in 4K resolution. Absolutely love it.
What an honor.
Yeah, I will also say that like internally, people reach out, they're like, Danny, he just got Armani on a show. Like, it seems really good. He's taking a lot of initiative. And that literally led to Danny getting hired at Monad. So that was like in the Dominoes meme. You were a big part of this.
Yeah. So thank you.
So we have Armani to thank for this. Armani, it looks like you have maybe Heisenberg's uncertainty principle on the board behind you. It looks like some smart people are doing some whiteboarding. What's been on your mind with Backpack recently? What's kind of the latest status update?
Yeah, great question. So no Heisenberg uncertainty principle, unfortunately, in the background. I mean, I think what's been going on with Backpack, honestly, is we've just been executing on our global master plan, if you want to put it in those terms. One of the really challenging aspects about what we're building, for maybe folks that aren't aware, what I think Backpack is ultimately trying to do, that's pretty different, I think, than I think various other folks, is we're ultimately trying to establish ourselves as one of the regulated markets in the crypto space. And so we are taking a very onerous trajectory, if you want to put it in those terms, where a big part of what we've been doing over the past 2 years has just been honestly getting to the starting line in a lot of these regions around the world where we can actually serve the regulated product, because a really big part of what we're trying to do is ultimately going after like institutions and really like advanced professional use cases, in addition to, I guess, what folks know is like the retail product that we have. And so, I moved here to Japan about 2 years ago, really for this purpose. I've never lived in Japan previously, but it's like one of these like really exciting markets where Coinbase doesn't exist here, Kraken doesn't exist here. And we thought it was like a really kind of great opportunity to come and set up shop and go through the whole licensing process. And so we've kind of just been on this step-by-step, brick by brick journey around the world. We started in Dubai, got licensed out of there, moved over here to Japan. Luckily, we did really well in our first year of trading, and we were able to accumulate enough resources to acquire what was formerly known as FTX EU, and we've gone through the whole process of returning kind of those assets to those former customers. And really just been trying, executing on going to market around the world. And so, right now we're in the middle of season 2, volume's pumping, market's going crazy. It's been a great day. We've done over $1 billion in volume today, so things are going well. It's just a never-ending journey, as you both know already. But yeah, things are going well, and it's been a great day.
Yeah, you mentioned acquiring FTX EU and returning assets. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, and maybe like what was the reason behind it, and what are you looking to do now that you've acquired FTX EU? Like, how does that fit into the Backpack strategy? What is new and enabled now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think maybe without going into all the nuances of acquiring a regulated company, I think Europe just generally is like a really important market. Obviously, it's a huge kind of one of the most important parts of the world. It's very challenging to get into. It's kind of like the U.S. in that respect, where they take regulation and compliance extremely seriously. And so it was kind of for us, we view it as a really important region to bring the product to. And so ultimately, the context around Europe really has been, the world's, I think I saw some podcasts with, I think it was the founder of Bybit with Ben, like maybe 6 months ago or something, when he's basically foreshadowing that everybody was basically moving out of Europe because they didn't have the ability to serve users there, specifically on the derivative side. And so I think what we've seen is really just this hole in the market, if you want to put it in those terms, where there hasn't really been a really compelling regulated derivatives offering. And so we're not there yet, but that's like I think one of like the really exciting things. That's kind of like the U.S. in that respect, where you now have Coinbase and Kraken doing their thing and the CME doing their thing, and I think these markets are all still like evolving extremely quickly, but ultimately being able to serve the region is super important, and we're inching our way there.
Curious, like, from a broad strokes perspective, kind of zooming out, how does this play into like, say, like a 5 or 10 year plan for Backpack? Like, obviously laying the groundwork brick by brick, absolutely, absolutely love that, and am guilty of stealing that a bit here and there. But curious, like, really zooming out on this, what does this look like over the next couple of years?
So we're in this, I think, pretty unique position where we sit between like, I guess you can call it the old economy and the new economy, right? Traditional finance and the crypto economy, right? We've got Monad and Solana and Ethereum and all these pioneers building really the next generation or next wave of market structure around the world. And I think, a big part of my view is that, a lot of the tech is starting to mature. We know how to build markets now, whether it's DeFi, whether it's DEXs or borrow lending, or maybe even these more kind of new novel kind of primitives like these launch pads and pump fund and so on and so forth. But a big part of the challenge and the problems to solve, the remaining problems to solve, is ultimately going to be bringing the real world on chain. I think there was this almost identity crisis in DeFi going back 1 to 2 years ago, where we had this whole Ouroboros discourse on crypto Twitter. Everybody was questioning, what are we all doing in DeFi or whatever. There's not this financial nihilism moment that kind of rose, and it's because finance isn't ultimately useful in a vacuum. Right, all finance is, it's like an accounting mechanism for price discovery and bringing together value around the world, but it's not actually tangible. Right, these are just like numbers. Right, like crops and farms are valuable, like buildings are valuable, like like being able to like do things in the real world is like the important thing. And the real world is very different than the world of bits, right? Where there's jurisdictions, there's countries, there's laws, there's guns. I'm in Japan. The rules are very different here than when I'm sitting, back, at home in California or whatever. And so I think, one of the big things that we are really excited about is being able to go to these different parts of the world and figure out, okay, how do we actually connect the real world into crypto and bring it on chain? And that's ultimately why we've taken the regulated path, is because somebody's got to do that hard work. And I think there's a ton of really great folks in TradFi that don't really know much about crypto. And there's a bunch of really great folks in crypto that don't really know much about TradFi. And we're hoping to kind of play that role in the market where kind of we can bring the best of both worlds and, maybe try to usher in kind of the next wave of not only adoption, but also kind of primitives and things coming on chain.
Yeah, I think I like the way that you put that, right? Where like there's real value that exists in the real world, and finance is really just a system to allow value to like accrue to the correct places. It's almost like this engine that facilitates value creation within the real world. And I think the ultimate vision for crypto is like this can be a more efficient way to facilitate that. And upgrading the entire system for value creation in the real world is worth a lot to the real world. Or like Bitcoin, for example, it's supposed to be it's hard money, right? It's a better unit of account, a better store of value. When you have efficient ways for value to be transferred throughout the world, right? The world becomes more efficient in actually creating value in and of itself. And so, yeah, I mean, Backpack, it's one large piece of the crypto economy that is actually pushing to move this forward. And you said one thing, right? Like new primitives. One of the most exciting things that I think about when people, like my friends who have traditional finance jobs, when they ask about crypto, like you can explain, oh, well, the dollar is inflating and Bitcoin has value. It's like it's digital, it's gold for Zoomers, and like they kind of buy into that, but they have a bunch of questions, they don't really get it. And then you're like, well, how about this? Perpetual futures. And you explain that, and they're like, that's actually sick. Like this is a new primitive that came from crypto that is awesome. And I know that that is actually a large part of what Backpack is kind of looking to expand upon as well. I know you said you guys have done $1 billion in volume so far. How do perps kind of come into play in, like, how do you think about perps and like how?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think so. Yeah, we've done about 126 billion so far. We've done about a billion today. I think the way I think about perps is there. Okay, there's like a couple like things that go into it. So maybe the backdrop of perps is the 24/7 market. That's really the market structural change that is so drastically different than traditional finance. And these like markets never sleep. The perpetual future has no expiry as opposed to a dated future, and the markets just keep going and going. And the funding rate obviously does its thing. And perps, I think, are important for a couple reasons. Firstly, they unlock the ability to actually trade the asset without actually having the underlying. It's one of the reasons why they're so much more liquid than the spot markets. There's so much more volume globally than the spot markets. I think over 100 billion a day is traded with perps. And so, in one respect, it's just a really good way to put on a delta in a really liquid market. So if you're trying to hedge, if you're trying to get exposure to something, a perp is like one of the best like mechanisms for achieving that price exposure. But I think beyond that, if you think about it from a business point of view, I think Backpack on the one hand, it's a wallet. On the other hand, it's a centralized exchange. But I really hate the centralized exchange framing because it's too limited in scope. Ultimately, what Backpack is, it's like a money hub, right? We futures are there to facilitate liquidity for the money hub, and it's one really important primitive, but it's not the end game of the money hub, right? Ultimately, what we care about is people using Backpack for their day-to-day lives, right? Whether it's to facilitate their retirement accounts and using stocks, or to use the app for payments, or to use decentralized applications or DeFi on Monad or Ethereum or Solana or wherever it might be. And what the perp really does is it brings liquidity into the hub for use kind of everywhere else. And the moment you have this like ball of liquidity that you've spun in this singular place, it then opens up all of these other use cases because these businesses or these platforms scale with liquidity. It's like the liquidity begets liquidity, not only in a trading sense but also in a consumer sense as well. Think about something as simple as a cross-chain swap, or if I'm on Ethereum and I want to buy an NFT on Tensor, right? If I have pools of capital sitting on both Ethereum and on Solana, I can do that without having to worry about bridging, right? Because I already have the assets there, and I could get the assets into my wallet like that. This is even more clear when you have an asset like USDT or USDC, where you have these natively issued assets on all these different chains. And how do you actually, bridge these things, especially for something like USDT, where there is no like canonical redemption facility where you can create and redeem the asset to bring it over. And so this role of like being this money hub is really important to be able to establish like inflows and outflows. Whether it's from one chain like Solana to Monad, or even more importantly from traditional finance into crypto. So one of the really important things that we do is the on and off ramping, right? Where you can do a wire transfer from any US dollar bank account from anywhere around the world directly into crypto as fast and as seamlessly as possible, and doing that not just in one country, in one currency, in one set of payment rails, but the US has ACH, Brazil has something like PIX, Europe has SEPA, everywhere is different. And so being able to stitch together all these services, whether it's crypto, perps, fiat, your brokerage account, or whatever it might be, into a singular app or a singular hub, is ultimately what makes it a home for money. And so if you can actually establish that network effect, these things scale in a really magnificent way. And so the perp is ultimately at the heart of all of that. And once you nail the perp, you then snowball into everything else. And so it's a bit of a counterintuitive thing for folks that are only thinking about trading, but the end game is much larger.
Yeah, Keone has made a few comments recently around what you were describing, where like the US has ACH and Brazil might have something else. There's kind of all of these systems that are built for money transfer, but they're all siloed. And once you own a large silo, or like you own the market, there's actually a decent amount of extraction, or you introduce friction on purpose, because that's actually your business model. And so there are all these enormous businesses or government agencies whose incentives are to get money to flow in and not let it flow out, right? Because it's in their best interest, but it's not actually in their citizens or your end users' best interest. And yeah, like the entire point of a decentralized blockchain is like you can break down all of these silos, get everyone working on the most efficient service or product, like allow them access to the most efficient way to transfer value. And that is a lot of the value prop of blockchains in the first place, right? Like no one can go in and shut it down or add friction, because like it is a censorship resistant platform. I know Danny had either a question or a tweet that I think we'd like you to break down as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first thing I saw this morning when I opened my eyes.
Oh boy.
I really need to stop going immediately to Twitter as soon as I wake up.
I do the same thing.
That's a bad habit, but today it played out okay. And talking about global distribution in particular, you tweeted this morning, my time at least, a couple hours ago. Basically, distribution of your tech stack is one of the most important things to win in every emerging technology. Crypto, no exception. EVM is light years away from any competitor on this, where every fork, every L2 empowers Ethereum. The question is, who will be the iOS to one's Android? And I'm honestly just interested by that tweet. Would love to hear you unpack it further. And if you have any predictions on how this might play out, would certainly be excited to hear it.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, this is the discourse that's really going on right now with not in crypto, but in AI, where, you see kind of, all the policymakers and, Washington or wherever the powers may be, are really talking a lot about, what is our AI policy. Should we be racing towards AGI as fast as possible? Should we let China win the race, or is this going to be the American tech stack that wins out? And a lot of that discourse applies more or less one-to-one directly over to crypto. And I think Ethereum, whether on purpose or by accident, has executed on this pretty magnificently, where their whole roll-up centric roadmap really was an EVM centric roadmap. That's probably people think of it in the context of scaling, but I think strategically it is not a scaling thing. It is a EVM distribution thing. So it's kind of like a happy accident, even if on purpose. But it's the distribution of the virtual machine, which is basically distribution of the programming language Solidity, which is then distribution over the set of developers and the set of businesses that are willing to commit time, money, resources to that stack, because they know they'll be able to hire people or use somebody else's code or have like a rich ecosystem of libraries or talent that they can pull from, to actually build on the Ethereum virtual machine. And it's pretty clear at this point that Ethereum, or the EVM, I should say, is the dominant developer ecosystem in crypto more broadly, which is a funny thing for me to say, given most people think of me as a Solana person. If you're outside of Solana, you think of me as a Solana maximalist. If you're inside of Solana, I guess you might be receiving this information as an Ethereum maximalist. But that's neither here nor there. Solana has really taken the opposite approach, which is pretty interesting. Which it has, in my view, solved or is solving all of the really hard scaling challenges that Ethereum never solved. Or it never, I guess it tried, it just never really got there. But the shortcoming, I would argue, I love all my friends on Solana, but the shortcoming, in my view, is it is not embracing the SVM as a general purpose platform enough, right? It's Solana is like almost famous at this point for like not embracing forks or L2s or whatever. And I think that is something I would just push back on a bit. Certainly the folks that built Solana and that are working on it are much smarter than me. I think they have built, in my view, one of the most magical crypto ecosystems in the world. It's probably the one I spend the most time on by far. It's not even close, actually. But I really think that this is more important than people think. I think getting distribution on the programming language, the runtime, the developer ecosystem really is what this is. It's the humans that have dedicated large chunks of their life to understand how to build on this stuff, and that's ultimately how you get the outcomes that you want. And so, I mean, Android's interesting in that it's like Google, the thing's open source. There's a bunch of different devices that have it. You have the Redmi Note, the Samsung Galaxy, or whatever. But it's the same operating system. That's kind of like Ethereum, Monad, all the L2s, Base, Arbitrum, etc. And then you kind of have Solana, which is like, I guess you can think of it as like Apple or iOS in the sense that it's kind of like one. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know the future, but personally, I'd love to see more SVM chains, which I think is maybe a weird thing to say coming from Solana land, but I think it would be good for the ecosystem more broadly.
Yeah, it's honestly like that's been one of the most interesting learnings for me here, having the opportunity to work with folks that are far more technical than I am at Monad Foundation, and kind of learning that like EVM is not superior from a technical standpoint, but rather it's the level of adoption and the amount of humans that are involved in a very globally distributed sense that's built up this trust for this tech stack. And that, from my understanding, is like why one of the non-negotiable design decisions for Monad was that this has to be 100% backwards EVM compatible. But yeah, I mean, that was just an interesting learning, to experience firsthand and to realize that, hey, this thing is actually not technically superior, but it's the people that are using it and the ways that it's being manipulated and used that's ultimately resulted in that network effect.
Yeah. And one question I'd love to get your input on, and I know a lot of people that tune into this show are coming from the Monad side. And you are one of the first people I ever talked to about Monad when I initially joined. And like, you just got it, right? It just made sense. And I think There's a lot of people in crypto where that's true, but the majority of people, like, they think through it. They don't quite understand at first. And they're like, oh, well, it's an EVM L1. Like, we already have Ethereum. There's L2s coming in. So, like, why does it matter? And yeah, I guess I would love to get your point of view. Like, in your mental model of crypto, like, where does Monad kind of sit, right? It could be like, what are some of the challenges it might face? What are some of the uncertainties? Or like, why do you think that it's a worthwhile endeavor? What, like, I guess if you could do not necessarily a prediction, but like where do you think it kind of sits in the world of crypto, and what matters in your point of view?
So my framework for thinking about crypto is that there is maybe one or two things that I think are non-negotiable. So, there's a bunch of, I guess, confusion, I should say, in the discourse today, where you have this whole concept of a blockchain, and you have things that are on chain, but it's like, okay, what does that mean? And on chain, off chain, CeFi, DeFi. From my point of view, um, the words almost mean nothing at this point, because you have all of these different people building all of these different systems with all of these drastically different design choices that we're no longer all talking about the same thing that we were all talking about in 2017 or whatever. And so I like to maybe reframe the conversation away from on chain or off chain or whatever, and to ask yourself, what are the security properties that you're looking for, or just what are the properties generally that you're looking for, and then how do you achieve those things. So the properties that I find interesting in crypto, and the reason why I'm in the space, it's not really verifiability. Verifiability has existed in tech for decades. It's an old thing. We have Git, we have GitHub. GitHub's not on chain any more than any other thing is on chain. That's it's like, what's the unique sauce? Like, why are we in this thing? And for me, the unique sauce is, if I had to put it in one word, it's probably censorship resistance. It's not necessarily like decentralization, yes, but it's really censorship resistance. Decentralization is what gives you censorship resistance. And so I asked myself the question, okay, if that's the secret sauce, if I'm here for censorship resistance because I can build everything else without being in crypto, I can have verifiability outside of crypto. I can have fast systems outside of crypto. I could have 24/7 markets outside of crypto. It's really the censorship resistance piece that is net new. And that's kind of where I land on. And so if that is what you care about, then maybe you don't care about it, and that's fine. You don't have to care about it. In fact, Backpack Exchange is not censorship resistant. It has a lot of the other aspects of a chain. It's verifiable, it's provable, it's transparent, and so on and so forth. But it's not censorship resistant. But when I'm evaluating decentralized networks, L1s in particular, L2s as well, but if I care about this concept of a world computer, which is really what brought me to crypto, so the Ethereum white paper and the world computer hallmark, I need to be censorship resistant. And then the question becomes, okay, if you need to be censorship resistant, what are the properties of censorship resistance? And one thing for me that's non-negotiable is global distribution. Because if you're in a single country and you become sufficiently large, you will be shut down. There are no exceptions to this. If you're building any type of sufficiently large financial application, you will eventually have so much value that the powers that might be, law enforcement, lawmakers, nation states want to control these things because wars break out, terrorist attacks happen. They have their own kind of view of the way, money is power, and they want to control power. So if you want this credibly neutral platform, global distribution is non-negotiable for censorship resistance. And so if that is important to you, and if you think the Ethereum virtual machine is important, then it also should follow that you want a globally distributed, censorship-resistant platform built on the Ethereum virtual machine to be as fast as humanly possible. And this is the one thing that Ethereum has utterly failed on. And it's not like, an insult or anything. It's just honest, right? They just haven't scaled the thing. And all of the solutions that they have gone after with all the L2s they're great. You can build great censorable products as these like single sequencer L2s, and not all L2s are bad. There's lots of great L2s. There's some that are censorship resistant, but I think it's fair to frame most L2s in this like single sequencer conversation, because that's like where we're at today. Forget about the multi-sigs. Let's pretend the multi-sigs don't exist, although they do exist. But we're in this single sequencer land, right? And that's a really huge trade-off that basically ends up looking a lot like trust me bro sequencing, right? It's no different than a centralized exchange, which is not bad. I'm literally building a centralized exchange, and so if you want to build that, that's great. I'm in your camp. But the reason why Monad is important to me is because it's solving these really hard problems that most people gave up on these problems. And these are the most hard problems to solve in crypto, full stop, end of story. And they're some of the most important problems to solve. And I guess I'm one of the people that thinks the EVM is super important. There's just too many developers that have, devoted large portions of their life to mastering it. There's too many like amazing companies that have, gone too far to not scale the EVM properly. And so for all those reasons, I think Monad is one of the few teams that is going after like one of the most important problems. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah, you kind of just put my thoughts into much better words in a more elegant way. So I appreciate that. Yeah, it's almost like to me, I got into crypto for, it sounds like a lot of the same reasons as yourself. Pretty much you just want insurance that if crazy things happen in the world, that they can't just go in and like cut the head off the snake or like debank you or seize everything that is important to you. And the current financial system, maybe outside of perps and stablecoin transfers, is kind of more efficient for most things than crypto. The reason that we accept some fees and kind of some of the inefficiencies is for that censorship resistant property, right? Like you think about the Canadian trucker protesters from a couple of years ago. It's like, oh, you protested this thing. The government didn't like that. And so we're going to freeze all of your funds. It's like, if you can use something that has a lot of power over people to your advantage as a large centralized entity, then you will, right? It's like one of the oldest kind of pieces of wisdom or adages for all of humankind. It's like power will corrupt people. And even if it doesn't seem like it's going to, and they're saying really nice things, like when people get a bunch of power and then they can use it for their own benefit, like they're going to. And to me, crypto was like, hey, we're going to invent this technology that is literally allowing for a different system that builds freedom for an individual into the world. And so, yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of like different L2 architectures that to me is just building the kind of centralized systems that crypto was pretty much put there to get around. And yeah, that's the main reason I joined Mana in the first place. I was like, Solana, ever since I learned about it, like late 2020, was always my favorite blockchain, because I'm like, you need decentralization and censorship resistance, but it also needs to be really fast. And Solana was like the best at that. And a lot of people started to realize that. It gained a lot of adoption. It was so important, in fact, that a ton of people learned brand new coding languages to go and build applications for it because they really believed in this vision. And then Monad was kind of the first time where it's like, hey, we're going to take this enormous bucket of collateral that's already like, or capital collateral built for developers, indexing, like all the applications, everything that the vast majority of people already use to build things. And then we're going to give it Solana-like properties. And so to me, it's like that's the foundation, right? If you are going to commit your career and the thing that you spend time doing, like in your short life, you want it to be built on a solid foundation. You don't want it to be a sandcastle where a big enough wave can come in and ruin it. I don't know. That's I love the way that you explain it. It's much better than my explanation. Go ahead, Danny.
It makes me think like, okay, maybe this is inevitable, but does essentially the muddying of the waters around what it means to build in crypto and to build in like a censorship resistant environment, does that actually make it more challenging for crypto to get adoption? Because you actually have to like go and talk to businesses and teams that are building applications and explain that like, okay, there's a way to do this in a censorship resistant, globally decentralized way. And then there's also, you know, a means by which you don't achieve that censorship resistance. And, you know, maybe some of those businesses or people actually don't care in the short term. They go and they end up building in an environment that's not censorship resistant. And ultimately that comes back and, you know, kind of bites them in the back. But I'm just curious how you think about the challenge of like getting the message out there and getting more people to build in crypto in a decentralized and censorship resistant manner.
I think unfortunately these things don't really matter until it's too late, and you can't really sell it as a value prop. It's like no airline goes and like sells you, hey, like come fly United because it's not going to crash, right? And they don't even bring it up, right? It's a given. Security is so important. It's a given. And I think, you know, maybe the harsh truth is that, like, you know, I think a lot of people just like kind of gave up on the problem because it's like just so hard. And I think other folks just chose different trade-offs in the design space, which is also totally fine. And I think just the muddying of the discourse puts you into like a pretty dangerous situation where now we're all calling the same thing. We're using the same word which has very specific security properties to describe many different things now. And a lot of these systems are like just super complex and extremely nuanced. And no like single set of words like correctly describes them all. So I kind of just like now like honestly kind of reject like the framing, and it's like you got to be specific. What are the properties that you want? And stop like saying this like on-chain off-chain thing because it's like no longer sufficiently specific, especially once you start talking about things like margin systems where there's a ton of nuance in them. It's like, you know, how do you get liquidated, you know, that type of thing. And so I mean, I think I totally agree with everything that you said. I think the one like very succinct way to prove to yourself that you know, these systems matter and that censorship resistant matters is, you know, if you care about nothing else, you only care about money and the price and number go up, like not financial advice or whatever. Just take a look at Bitcoin. There's a reason why you have both the United States government and you know, China holding hundreds of billions in Bitcoin or whatever the number is. I don't know, you know, check me on that. There's no way that China owns Bitcoin or that the US owns Bitcoin if the other one does, if it's not, you know, credibly neutral. And that's my very intuitive, succinct argument for why in the limit censorship resistant matters. And there will be a premium for certain on censorship resistant assets. And that to me is like just the most succinct argument one can give.
It's a very good argument. I think Bitcoin is the reason a lot of people have joined the space. Kind of obviously that goes without saying. If you learned about Bitcoin and it was not censorship resistant, you wouldn't have been interested in the first place. It's like the key thing that exists, right? It's hard money. It's verifiable. You know how many there are going to be. You know what it's like. It's very predictable and no one can stop it. And I think that no one, like that phrase, right? No one can stop it. That is the key. Like that is why Bitcoin has value in the first place. If someone can go and stop it, then obviously Bitcoin would not be what it is today, right? No one can stop it. This is going to perpetuate, is the sole fundamental reason. I think a blockchain like that is one of the end goals, right? Ethereum wanted to get to the point where this is going to be a Turing complete blockchain where you can program on top of it and no one can stop it, right? I think Solana is getting to a similar point, like actually is realistically past that point where like, yes, Anatoly could get thrown off a cliff. Maybe Mert's Twitter account gets suspended, but no one is going to stop it. And I think that's the key, right? If you're building on something, you want to know that it's going to exist and no one can stop it. We have our first community question. So shout out Mexi877. You will be the first person to spin the wheel at the end of the show. Stick around. Mexi's question is, why do you consider global distribution to be a non-negotiable requirement for censorship resistance? And so I think, I mean, I probably don't need to explain the nuance of the question, but like, why does global distribution matter if censorship resistance is really the property that we're going after?
Yeah, so you can invert the question. You can say, okay, suppose it doesn't matter, and suppose you don't have global distribution. Suppose you are in a single country. Then it should follow that if you break the laws in that country, then that country is going to shut the thing down. And if this country shuts the thing down, then GG, game over. And so the question is, well, what's your use case? And if your use case is something like DeFi or finance, you can expect with high probability that if it becomes sufficiently large, it'll be shut down. And that is, I think, as obvious to most folks that are working finance as it like the sun rises or whatever. Like, it's like not a joke. And so I think that is like the succinct argument. Now the reality is that most things in crypto are just like super irrelevant. Like, so nobody like cares. It's like the market cap's too small. It's like all the value in crypto. It's like less than all the value of Nvidia's market cap or whatever. But that's not like the world that we're building for, right? The world we're building for is for crypto to just take over. And if you want to live in that world, then you need to set yourself up to succeed in that world. If you want to live in the world where everything's some speculative offshore casino and it's like not actually important and it's not actually a pillar of society, then like that's fine. And these things don't matter, but then we should all probably pack up our bags and go work in AI or something. I think the world that a lot of us are working and are building for is for crypto to eat finance in the same way software ate everything else, and to, permeate this like new kind of global internet native market structure in every kind of nook and cranny of the world.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it just can't be said enough, right? It's not the easiest thing to understand, but I think if you spend a little bit of time to look into it and understand, then once it makes sense, it's like there's no going back. Basically, it's like you took the red pill. Now you see it for what it is. And once you're there, then these things become much, much more important to you. It's like a core value of what you care about seeing exist in the world and moving forward. We're going to go to another community question. Armani, you've done a lot of talking about Monad, which is great. We're very excited to see Backpack on Monad.
Yeah, one of the community questions, just to interrupt really quickly, is when Backpack on Monad now?
Go
It's
use
live.
it.
I'm using it every day on both Solana and Monad testnet.
So to talk about Backpack for a second, Henry 58-90. You've had some of the best questions for a couple episodes in a row. Shout out Henry. Henry says or asks, there are many wallets in the market. What makes Backpack Wallet fundamentally different or superior to others like, say, MetaMask or Phantom?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there is a couple ways to break this down. So first, I'll start with maybe why our current users love Backpack on Solana or Monad or any other chain. So I think Backpack is a bit different in that it really caters to the most advanced, most degenerate wallet user. And you know this if you have a lot of wallets. So if you're like the type of person that has 100 wallets, it's one of the smallest but most important features is our account model. So this is fundamentally different than basically every other wallet, where you can segregate your wallets by identity. You can kind of think of it as like when you go to Google and you have like different like Gmail accounts. You can have different accounts on Backpack where it's like a second dimension where you have your normal wallet list like you have on every other wallet, but you can segregate by accounts. And I think that is like one of the most important, very subtle, very small but extremely important features of the wallet, which is why like we have like a lot of like the really large whales on Solana, like maybe the most notorious example of this, like Solana, like Big Brain using the wallets, because these guys like are very careful about what they do on chain. So if you like really care about privacy, for example, you don't want to like connect wallets. And so that's like that's one kind of really important reason. Another one is like a pretty fundamental design decision that we made, is that from my point of view, it really matters what chain you're on. Like if I'm on Monad, I want to know I'm on Monad. I do not want to see other chains. I don't want to get cluttered with a bunch of other useless information. And so one of the very kind of big difference between, Backpack and, maybe other wallets on Monad that are also multi-chain is that you can view it only through the lens of Monad and not really get polluted with any other information. And so it's maximally native to the chain that you're on. And that's like the other like really important feature. I think some might call it a feature, some might call it a bug. For me, it's like one of the really important design decisions that we made that stands like pretty starkly different to kind of other wallets. I think the other thing, some wallets, this is a given, some it's not. It's just the multi-chain element. So you can use Solana, you can use Ethereum, you can use Monad, you can use Eclipse, Arbitrum, Optimism, Eclipse, Polygon, Barachain. The list goes on and on. Really kind of that, our goal is to be able to use any chain on Backpack. And so we have an extremely comprehensive list of networks inside of the wallet. And then last but not least, and this really is going to give you an inkling at the future, is really the native exchange integration. And so to the extent that you use any centralized exchanges, whether it's for on and off ramps or perps or anything, or traditional assets or anything in between, we do not think the wallet is like some separate thing from the exchange. We view it all holistically. So really like the closest like spiritual product sibling I think that we really aim to strive for is like the Apple ecosystem. It's like you have your Apple Watch and you have your iPhone and you sync it with like just by using your camera, and it's this like beautiful magical experience where all kind of just works. And that's really kind of what we're building with the exchange in the wallet, where you don't want to view your portfolio in a little dinky extension, or you really should have a beautiful kind of full web page. Similarly in the mobile app, and so being able to like transfer assets back and forth, use the same address book, have the exact same mobile app is super important. And this is really going to define the wallet experience in the future, where a lot of the stuff that's in R&D right now that we're working on, just to maybe, I guess, leak some alpha, if you want to throw it in those terms, is being able to use your exchange account for any decentralized application. So the user experience is the centralized exchange, but you actually have genuine self-custody with no gimmicks. Now that's like a technical rabbit hole that like I'm happy to go down. I won't though. But I think if you care about self-custody and you have a ton of assets on chain, I think it'll be fair to say that we will have the most secure wallet that you will not lose. And I think there's a ton of nuance there. And I think the future of wallets is going to look very different than the wallets that we have today, and that there's going to be a huge paradigm shift in terms of not only the safety and security of self-custody, but the UX being, what you want, which is the centralized exchange is the best UX. But how do you achieve that UX in a way that doesn't lose what makes crypto special. And that's the whole challenge. And I will assert that you can have your cake and eat it too. And so we're pretty excited about some of this new product that we're working on right now. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Awesome. Well, I mean, as a user, can definitely attest that the experience is sticky. I was onboarded to Backpack through Mad Lads actually, and just never left. And feel like I owe you a thank you in particular for adding that DeFi tab, because I have definitely discovered some free money. So appreciate that. Hopefully, have one more. Go ahead.
Oh, I should have said the DeFi tab. That's the newest feature. Literally, I had so many people messaging me saying, "Oh my God, thank you for adding this. I found," like, literally people are finding 100K, 300K assets that they had no idea they had. So we have this DeFi tab where you can see all of your positions in DeFi on Solana in particular. And so if you haven't tried it yet, check it out. You might find some, some spare change in the sofa. You also might find a new car sitting inside of your wallet that you didn't know about. So yeah, results may vary. Not financial advice.
I didn't find a new car. I saw Kevin just checked and found absolutely nothing, but I definitely got a couple $100. So it's that's a great day for sure. And maybe one more quick question. Kind of taking off the exchange and the wallet hat and putting on the Mad Lads hat. This question comes from Jeezy in the Monad community, who says, there are a lot of NFT founders here in the chat excited for Monad Mainnet. What advice would you give to a prospective NFT founder that's looking at minting on Monad, creating a collection on Monad, building community on Monad, etc.?
I think there's a couple key components to how I think about NFTs. I think the first component, it sounds really simple, but and it sounds like almost like dumb and trite, but I actually think it's really important. Which is, to put it succinctly, one, you just like actually have to care. You actually have to care about the people in your community, like as humans. You see so many, at least in the last cycle, you saw so many soulless corporations get into NFTs of some like marketing gimmick. They're like, oh yeah, I can get like, some marketing brownie points or whatever. And it just like, it's a total flop and never works. Celebrities do it, exact same thing. It's just a total flop. And you can't fake that. Humans are great bullshit detectors. If you don't actually care about something, it will emerge in your behavior in some way, and another human will interpret that, detect the inconsistency, and it'll be dead on arrival, and you're just wasting everybody's time. So I think first thing is like, you really just actually have to care about building a community. Secondly is like, you have to have a strong sense of purpose. Like, what are you doing this for? Why are you doing it? There needs to be a collective story that people can rally behind to give the community a sense of purpose. Too many people fall into this trap of just like, I'm just going to vibe, or I'm going to sit in a Discord and just, people think, people are just like spamming wow in our Mad Lad chat all day. Right. And it's just like, we're just vibing, bro. Right. And it's like, we've had like 50,000 or whatever number of NFTs are on Magic Eden and Tensor. We've had this experiment run over and over and over again. We all know the end result. If you're based on vibes, you are dead on arrival. You don't need to have a startup, right? You don't need to have a wallet or an exchange. You can be an artist, right? And the purpose is the story of the artist. It can be, you can be a musician or a band, right? And the story is the story of your band. It can be some cause that you care a bunch about, right? It could be animal rights or whatever, and you get a bunch of people that care about animal rights together. It could be just a subreddit, right? We all care about I don't know, football or basketball or something, and I'm like a Lakers fan, and I just care about the Lakers, and I'm making an NFT that's a derivative of the Lakers logo or something like that. But you have to have purpose. If you don't have purpose, then you have nothing, and people will leave, and it'll end as quickly as it started. And then I think the third element, which is maybe the most challenging piece, is you need gravity around the community. Like the community needs to have gravity. Like things need to orbit around it to create, content and value and interest. I think we've been really lucky as a wallet as an exchange where there's just natural gravity, right? Whether it's, other ecosystems want us to connect into the wallet, you have DeFi protocols, a swapper wants to connect, an NFT marketplace wants to connect into the wallet, not just on one chain, but on many chains. You have listings, you have users and distribution that, is really valuable to, the crypto ecosystem more broadly. And so, Mad Lads has had, it's been a focal point for many folks. And as, not just from the product standpoint on the backpack side, but also from just how rabid and engaging and valuable the community is in its own right. And, for this reason, I think a lot of people felt very comfortable and excited to give, airdrops to the community. Not every project's going to receive airdrops or even should care about airdrops. But a lot of people found value in it. And it's because of this orbit that I think exists around Mad Lads, as, the number one NFT on Solana, as kind of the heart and soul of these products, as an extremely valuable and potent and ravenous community in its own right, of, a bunch of, really kind of crypto native set of users that people honestly just want to engage with. And so that's kind of like, I guess, my 3-step checklist for NFTs. And I think, if you can mix together a couple of those, or hopefully all 3 of them, then you'll have a good foundation. But yeah, I think it's everybody's different, and there's not like one cookie cutter way of doing it, but that's kind of my framework for thinking about the lads.
Absolutely love it. We are certainly going to clip that answer and make sure that every prospective NFT founder in the Monad ecosystem, gets a handle on those 3 pillars. That was awesome. And I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of other awesome clips from today's show. Armani, you are absolutely always welcome to join us. This was a ton of fun, kind of a 2-year reunion, first ever Monad in the Morning guest before it was a live stream, before the pipeline existed. So really, really appreciate you coming on today. I know the community does as well. And let's run it back soon before another 2 years have lapsed.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Armani.
Bye.
Okay. That was fantastic.
He's so freaking smart, man.
If you're in the community and you're clipping, definitely go rewatch that episode. And there's some absolute gems in there, whether you want to clip it and put it out or whether you just want to learn something. I learned like 10 things probably.
Yeah. Armani's pretty liberal with shouting out stuff, especially when it's the Mad Lads and backpacks. So there's definitely some bait that you could put out there. Armani's got a big following of his own with the rabid community. So,
and we are going full force in our trading episode today.
We
are bringing on a Monad native team. Cozy. 0x Fravashi. Kuru. Let's get these chads up on stream. Very excited to hear from the Kuru team today. And if you are tuning in the audience, we're running all the spins at the end of the show. Keep those questions coming. We'll ask some questions from the chat to the Kuru chads. Cozy, Fravashi, gentlemen, welcome to Monad in the Morning. It's great to have you here.
Let's go. What's up, boys? How we doing?
Cozy, where did the stash go?
Dude, Kevin, what can I say? This was actually, I was thinking about this last night. My wife was like, hey, it'd be nice if the mustache went away. And I was thinking about it. I was like, no, in the morning this morning, we might be doing no mustache till mainnet, Kev. That might be it, man.
Dude, I actually had a joke teed up, but it was completely reliant on the mustache. I got no ammo now.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, dude. I just got to make sure you're on it, man.
I love it. One of my favorite comedians is Shane Gillis, and he hosted the ESPYs last night. and he was rocking a mustache. You guys actually have a little bit of semblance. And so I was like, the mustache with Cozy, it's like we got our own Shane Gillis on the show today. But oh man. Ravashi, how are you doing, sir? I believe this is the first Mana in the Morning public appearance that you're blessing us with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I'm happy to be here, and thanks for having me on. Really
Great
excited
to have you
talk
here.
about
And I know there's a bunch of Kuru users in the chat that are excited as well. I know we have quite a bit to unpack, some new features, some new updates, obviously shipping fast, getting ready for mainnet. But I think since this is the first time we've ever had Ravashi on, it would be awesome to give the community just a little perspective on your background and also some of the Kuru lore. When, why, and how did you start building Kuru, and what's that journey been like?
Sure. Yeah. I think I've spoken about this maybe twice or thrice. The general story goes like this. I've been working in the blockchain space for like 3.5, 4 years now. And I met Rohan at a party, and we started talking about my job. He at that time was still building in private blockchains, not public blockchains yet. And I got him DeFi build at that time. The interest from both of us was essentially to take part in hackathons, try out new DeFi ideas, because we both were figuring it out as we go, right? One of these days, one of these hackathons, we came up with this idea of the order book on the EVM. That was like, I think, the turning point for us. We won the hackathon, some partner prize, but more than the winning itself, it was the potential that, hey, like, why doesn't this exist? I think this is a straightforward idea. Either we're getting something really, really wrong, or there's like a huge opportunity here. That's how it started off. Since then, we've been looking for feedback from multiple people, because neither me nor Rohan came from DeFi backgrounds. Neither of us are quants or market makers. So we were looking for feedback around this order book design and how it would look like on chain. Everyone else at that time had given up on order books. They were like, hey, like, order books won't work out. We just figure out better AMMs. We'll try to make it tighter. We'll try to make it more frequent updates. And that's the best we can do at this moment. The only team that was still optimistic and bullish about an order book on chain was the Monad team. So when I joined the community, I think this was September of 23. The Monad team was still very, very small. I think I had my first call with, this was a community call. And in this community call, everyone was talking about what Monad could power in the future. And I heard Fitz, I think Fitz was there at that time, and he was talking about order books. And I was like, damn, someone else is talking about order books. Maybe I should like reach out to them and like figure out what's happening. That's how it started. I reached out to them. I reached out to Fitz. I spoke to one of the engineers in the Monad team, told them our idea. We discussed the whole thing. And that's how the journey started. And since then, the Monad team has helped us throughout this whole process of building a team, building the product, giving us feedback, and helping us along the way. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
So yeah, I mean, it's super awesome insight to get, the behind the scenes origin story there. I am curious though, you said like you guys were like, hey, we need to build an order book on the EVM. This doesn't exist. You weren't the first ones to ever have that idea, but like you said, it had basically been written off as impossible. What was the initial plan? Were you guys like, we can do something that no one else can do here? Or was it really just like kind of crazy early stage vision? We're going to make this happen somehow, no matter whether it's on like a performant L2 or, wherever can basically handle a fully on-chain order book. And then Monad comes along and you're like, okay, you talk to Fitz on Twitter Spaces and it ends up being the perfect fit. But like, was it just this crazy drive to solve a really hard problem that no one else had solved? Or did you actually have like some sort of edge, at least in your mind, starting out, that you were like, we can be the ones to actually accomplish this, even though everyone else has written this problem off as simply too hard?
Yeah, I think it did start off with a vision to build like this product and this whole DeFi protocol, right? It really started off from the basic point of DeFi could be better and AMMs are not the best we can do. And at that time, there were two options. For the hackathon, we'd actually built our own L2 and we'd built an order book on top of it. And we were thinking, okay, like this is fine, but we really think decentralization is the way to go. So this works, like this has been proven, like we did it in the hackathon. But is there like a better way to do this? And we were just like discussing other ideas at the time. It so happened that when I came across Monad for the first time on Twitter, I think there was a raise. Maybe I don't remember how I came across Monad, but this was on Twitter. I came across them and joined the Discord. At that time, it's when it hit me that we can actually build this on a completely decentralized L1 chain. We don't have to make this trade-off of, hey, let's build our own sequencer and build this. So it was that point when it became like kind of serious, where we were like, okay, maybe there's something here. And once we started talking to the team, we realized that there is actually a big potential here to build this. This is when we started getting on frequent calls with the engineers, figuring out, okay, these are the different designs, option A, option B, what works, what doesn't work, what are the trade-offs. And it got to a point where Keone got on one of these calls and was like, I think we really like you guys, and maybe you guys should actually build this on Monad, like for real. Until then, it was just like feedback calls, right? We were just intellectually curious about whether our design works, whether this actually makes sense. And we were looking for like validation and feedback from like the quants like Keone and others. So that's how it started. But at one point after this call with Keone is when me and Rohan spoke, and we were like, okay, I think there is a really big scope to build something here. We can actually change how trading works on chain, like change the way the underlying data structure works, AMMs, and move towards a cloud design. And that's how it all started at that point.
Gotcha. So, I mean, definitely feel free to call me an idiot if I'm wrong here, because I am an idiot. I'm not technical. I'm not very well educated.
You're very handsome, though, Danny.
Well, thank you. At least I got that. But what it kind of sounds like is the initial earliest stage vision for Kuru kind of looks something like Hyperliquid, right? Where you have this, your own L2. It's probably a bit more skewed towards the centralized side of things, but still you get that amazing on-chain trading experience. But then ultimately, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, you kind of start interfacing with the team at Monad, and then you learn like, okay, we can actually build this order book on top of a decentralized, permissionless, censorship resistant L1 layer. And then it's like, okay, now this is something that really no one's ever been able to do before.
Right. So like I said, right, this L2 part was more like a hackathon project. We were actually just going to write off the idea and like not build this as a project because we didn't really like see the potential there. But the fact that we could do this on a decentralized L1 was really the turning point for us. Because at that time, not just Hyperliquid, there were a few others that had actually done this similar concept. I think AO was one of them. And then a few others, I think, spun up their own L2s. Rollup as a service was a big thing at that time. And multiple exchanges just spun off their own L2s and like started doing these perp markets. So we didn't really consider that as an option at all. We thought, okay, cool, we won the hackathon, good. Let's move on. But this was the point where it was like, okay, maybe there is a possibility to do this like in a decentralized fashion.
Beautiful. And I've got a couple other questions, but I do want to hear one more piece of lore, and that's like, Cozy, how did you first discover Kuru? How did you get connected with Fravashi here? Like, there's got to be a story there.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Well, I had just been in the space for a few years at this time and was just kind of, like a full-time shit poster. I was really just a hobby investor, very much a shrimp if my trades were popping up on Deck Screener and everything. But I was just having fun with it, but looking to work more in the space. And I'd done some contract work and stuff on the side. And Pancakes Bra, salute to that man, one of the Chads, was putting out that Monad was looking for more people in the marketing space. And so I got connected with Tunes that way. I remember walking around in my backyard on a call with Tunes, and it was just awesome, and everything worked out from there. I got on calls with Fravashi, and with Trojan, Rohan, the co-founder. And I've just learned, I mean, the little lore that I like is that even though they got together in the last few years, they've known each other since 7th grade, which is like a pretty cool little hidden piece with these guys. And I just knew from the beginning that like Fravashi, anytime, he was never spooked off by me being like just a shit poster and like total degen and everything. And any like memes or stuff that I was throwing out, my man was just tracking. Like he knew what he was talking about, even from the technical design, but also like this man could be like a Coinbase CT expert. So I was like, I'm willing to throw in with these guys. And so it's just been awesome ever since then. I mean, we've been working together since June or July of last year. So just hit 1 year, and it's been a ton of fun to be along for the ride with them. So yeah, very blessed.
That's amazing. It's hard to believe, full year under your belt already. Obviously, lot going on behind the scenes at Kuru. It's been live on the Monad testnet for several months now. I know there's a lot of iteration based on community and user feedback, and also just what you're seeing in a live environment, albeit a no stakes live environment. But curious what that progress has looked like. I know there's new features dropping, and again, a lot of iteration behind the scenes. So, what have some of the learnings been during the testnet phase, and how are you preparing for the mainnet ramp up?
Right. I think there's like a few pieces to this, right? So we initially thought we were very well prepared for testnet launch. I think, which was the biggest lie we've told ourselves. So when testnet really went live, our systems were cooked. We did not know what to do. Everything was basically like emergency mode. Things went down, and basically nothing was working. The homepage was loading and like things like this. That's when we realized what scale could look like, and we weren't prepared for the scale. And since then, most of our work has been to optimize and prepare for this kind of scale, probably more on mainnet. That's where most of our engineering hours have gone. And the second part of the problem was, since Monad is so fast, there's like a lot of things that can happen on a cheap, fast chain. So this is something our infra hadn't kept up with. And we also wanted Kuru to be a representation of how fast Monad can be, and for people to feel the real speed of Monad. So a lot of the work that's gone on since post mainnet till now has mostly been on the backend infrastructure side of things, where we're trying to get faster transaction receipts, so it's more immediate. We listen to WebSockets to give you the immediate transaction receipt. No more polling for RPCs. Things like these essentially make your experience much better. And also more reliability on the charts, on the trades, and all the data that we serve on the front end. So I think that's where most of the engineering hours have gone. I think now we feel more confident about mainnet and how we can launch that. Going forward, leading up to mainnet, whenever that happens this year, we will have more UI changes, right? Like more front-end changes, where you'll start seeing the product change a bit. It started off with our flip order feature recently, but we'll be building out more than newer features. It's more like a refresh that we're working on. And this should eventually get us to the finish line when mainnet is launched.
So mainnet, I think a lot of people are excited for mainnet. Would love to hear, like, from Kuru's perspective, how are you guys thinking about mainnet launch? Like, what are the current focuses? Maybe we'll do the two-part question. One for Vashi for yourself, and one for Cozy. Like, for Vashi, what are your major goals? What are you working on up until the mainnet launch? And then same question goes for you, Cozy.
Right. I think leading up to mainnet launch, first we want to get our audits done and be ready for that. We'll also have a public bug bounty competition so that we are completely secure and safe on that end. The second thing we would focus on is the product refresh I was talking about, because I see ourselves as like the homepage for Monad. Most financial activity that would happen on Monad would probably be through Kuru, and we want to be well equipped to handle this. And this means transactions landing on time, getting receipts on time, very few failed transactions, better error handling, and in general, a few more newer features. Maybe I can leak some alpha. One of the features we're working, I think there's two new pieces that we want to get onto Kuru. One is building on top of the flip orders. Flip orders actually is like a unique feature where users can now deposit liquidity onto an order book in a range that they've decided with the spread that they decide. This hasn't been done before, and so we're really excited about that. The newer feature would build on top of this, provide another way for liquidity provisioning on the order book. And the other piece is we want to be the best trading venue on Monad. So I'll just leave it at that. So these are the two main pieces that we want to build for Kuru from a product standpoint. Get the audits ready, get it safe and secure, and then work on the product with these two new features.
Yeah, I would say from my end, one, we just want to support and like create as much hype around the product and the new features that we're building. But I think there's really two main pieces that I'm dialed in on right now, along with KB. Shout out to KB, our fearless community leader. And I think they're both centered around the NADs and the CLOB NADs that we've put together at this stage. And I would say that we want to activate the NADs and we want to listen to the NADs, right? We want to activate them in the sense that we want to think about what are the ways that we can use this like Twitter and Discord flywheel that we've created to just get our CLOB NADs like as loud as possible, right? On the timeline, in Discord, even in other social media channels. What are the ways that we can use them as like sound pieces, not use, but like activate and equip them to be like our evangelists, like going out, right? You don't have to be an expert on the underlying dynamics of the CLOB, but experientially be able to kind of like sing the praises of what we know that the CLOB and AMM hybrid that we're building will be able to bring for people, right? And so that's something that we're 100% focused on, along with using that as a mouthpiece for net new user acquisition, right? We want to go out, hey, maybe to TikTok or maybe to YouTube, or hey, maybe even LinkedIn. Maybe we'll go start shit posting on LinkedIn, dude. We're going to go crazy. And at the same time, I think we really want to listen to the community, right? We want to hear from them, the things that they'd like to see. We want to make Kuru as fun of an experience as possible. So we're thinking about gamification elements. We want to do things that has never been done before in crypto, right? We talk about this all the time, but we are really early with all of these different dynamics and things that go into making a crypto project. And so we're really thinking about not just like pulling old tricks out of the box, but doing things that have never been done before. And so if there are ideas or things that you want to see for how we go to market, for how we reward our users, right? All of these different things, we're all ears. So just know that those are our two main focuses on the growth side: activate the NADs, listen to the NADs. That's what I'm dialed in on.
Hell yeah. Cozy, I got a question. What's it like working with KB? I feel like I see some of her tweets. She's always like, "Oh, I got a headache. I gotta take a nap," or "Oh, I'm stuck in Europe. Freaking, I can't get a flight," or
Canada.
"Oh, Skrillex's people don't understand his genius." Like, what? Yeah, what's it like working with KB?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I think that's all real. I mean, dude, I love KB. KB is a legend, and it's so fun. I think there's like a total synergy there, because if KB and I were born to do anything, it's just to gap, right? Like we just talk, man, like that. And that's what we do on the timeline too. We're just joking. Or, I mean, KB has a different vibe than me. She's kind of just narrating her life on the timeline, right? Which is fun. Like I'm along for the ride. And some of the things I hear like via a tweet, and I'm like, hey, are you okay? Like, are you at the ER right now? Like, what's going on? But sometimes I hear about it first, and then I see the tweet come out later. I'm like, let's go, banger. And I'm just liking. But I mean, KB is like the best Spaces host that I could ask for, and I feel like we're both always learning and getting to hang out. So it's a lot of fun. I think we make a great team. So it's pretty fun. I kind of feel like KB's my little sister. But yeah, it's super fun.
That's all time. I saw Suzuki Sasuke had a perfect comment. She goes, "Nap, Skrillex, beer, US." Like, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. If you're like ChatGPT, like, give me the summary of KB, it's probably that. So
yeah, she's like, "I'm never drinking again," and then like that night, she's got like a margarita in her.
She's like, "This is my last." Yeah, no, it's too good.
Speaking, though, not directly, but speaking recently of taking a lot of feedback from the community and listening to the community. We've got some community questions flowing in the chat. And I think one interesting one when you talk about like frictionless user experience is this question, first and foremost, coming from amazing Erich, who keeps copy pasting the same question over and over in the chat, which leads me to believe that amazing Erich really wants to know the answer. And the question is, will the ability to trade directly from your wallet rather than on a generated Kuru account be implemented? So like what's the thought process and design decisions around non-custodial wallets and the way that people can ultimately interface with Kuru?
Right. I think it's a very valid feedback we received from everyone. The reason we went ahead with an embedded wallet, which allows for a single click experience, is because of the experience just being better, right? You don't have to worry about signing and like maintaining this wallet and everything. It could be as simple as logging into your Gmail account, depositing some funds and using it. But we've also started to realize that there's a lot of people that don't want to do this. They would rather just connect their Rabbi or MetaMask or Phantom and want to use the product directly. So I think the biggest blocker for us to do that is UX. It would mean significantly worse UX for most users, at least because we're EVM, right? So there are things like an approve that requires before you sell a token. So if you're in the trenches and like you want to do this sell, you don't have the time to like go click approve and then again come back and sell. So this is the kind of UX that we wanted to make simpler for users. But the feedback has been the other way around. So we have two options that we're exploring at the moment that will enable this, and 7702 is one of that. We will see what works the best, and we will definitely enable EOA, that is like wallets like Phantom that can be connected to the Pro mode, and people should be able to trade even with their wallet in the future.
Yeah, that's probably, I mean, I can imagine that's interesting feedback to receive, because intuitively you would think that especially people who are more inexperienced and may not have done a ton of on-chain trading previously would actually appreciate that, kind of more Web 2 style, pretty seamless, intuitive onboarding flow compared to going out, spinning up your own non-custodial wallet, then connecting to an exchange and trading that way. So yeah, I think it just goes to show, one, different users have different preferences, and two, I think it's actually really exciting because it means that ultimately Kuru is well positioned not only to capture net new traders and net new users coming into Monad and transacting on blockchain for the first time, but also those that are already in the space and kind of have an affinity for the way that wallet setups are currently managed today. But it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, I think. But even more important perhaps than having a really tight product and a really seamless user experience on the exchange itself is making sure that there are great assets to trade and that there's trading activity happening on Monad. And certainly that is not the sole responsibility of Fravashi or Cozy or any one product or contributor in the Monad ecosystem. But curious if you guys have thoughts on how that ultimately does play out, because of course we've seen a lot of new ecosystems come and go without a lot of volume, but what do you think ultimately moves the needle in terms of boosting trading volumes and seeing on-chain activity in a new ecosystem?
Right. I think this is a very core part of Kuru, right? Because like you said, which asset can be traded on Kuru is the reason why people would want to trade on Kuru. And initially, I'm bullish on the Monad ecosystem and the community in general to drive speculation with assets that are listed and like community-driven coins. I think Solana has only shown us a lot of attention coins, where it's more news driven, or like the Labubu dolls or like the chill guy. But I expect Monad assets to be more community driven, where they're actually initiatives driven by the community. I'm also bullish on newer projects realizing that they can launch an EVM chain that does not make the trade off of decentralization and centralization. When this happens, when newer projects realize that the benefit of launching on an L2 is not as high as they could be with the same resources, just launch on a fully decentralized L1, have the same speeds, have the same gas benefits. What that will enable is developers to now rethink their EVM launch strategy. Till now, EVM launch has pretty much been, okay, there's like a bunch of L2s, pick the L2 that gives you the most benefits, or like gives you some grants or etc. And that's why it's been like such a fragmented experience for developers. But once there's a clear answer that, hey, like if you're choosing EVM, you should probably look at Monad, and like most people will just gravitate toward that as the right answer. This would lead to like way better projects coming on chain, and also higher quality assets, because these projects are going to be high quality. So I think those are the two main parts we're looking at. But the third part also exists, and I think the more we head towards a multi-chain future, there are assets that would prefer to be listed on some chain or the other. So on the longer term, we are thinking of how we could potentially list these assets on Monad and on Kuru specifically. But yeah, it's a very valid argument on what kind of assets will come, and what Kuru looks like in the future, and what can be traded on Kuru. So mostly bullish on community-driven coins, newer projects coming on the EVM, and also RWAs and other bridged assets we can bridge over to Monad.
Yeah.
One question that just came to mind for me. You guys hired Cozy, you hired KB right out of the community. Kuru recently announced a big fundraise, which is awesome, right? A lot more resources to scale up and get ready for mainnet. What parts of Kuru are you guys looking to expand? Are you currently hiring? Like what areas or what roles are you guys looking to build out more?
Yeah, I think we're more focused on the product side of things, because ultimately the product decides whether the new users that growth gets in, it can be retained or not. If it's a bad product, we can do the best distribution, but like people won't stay, they won't be sticky. So what we're hiring for right
counterexample, Snuggie, brutal product, great distribution, lots of sales. Just making a joke. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I agree. So I think so. We're hiring for mostly engineering roles at the moment. Our job dashboard has a few ones. We're looking for a smart contract developer, a quant developer, quant engineer, and also front end engineers is what we're looking for at the moment.
All right. So everyone's saying you should hire Jungi. Jungi, you either need to be a very legitimate coder already, or acquire the skill very quickly. There we go.
Rapid iteration and learning to code in a short period of time may serve Jungi well, though. So who knows? Can't write off Jungi. Also, we had another interesting question from I have no idea how to pronounce this user. Intern, can we get a little support here?
It's Cheyenne Evian.
Okay. From this user asks, you launched Kuru on Monad testnet. Yes, definitely. What were the learnings, and what do you plan to change or upgrade into mainnet? I know we've talked about some of the learnings and some of the developments behind the scenes ramping up towards mainnet, but if you have any additional thoughts or insights there, it would be cool.
Yeah, I think one, we realized what Monad's distribution looks like and how many users they can potentially onboard. What Monad gives a builder is this initial cohort of users that immediately get attention to your product. So any new launch that happens within the community is already starts with like a 1, not at a 0. So you have this initial feedback loop that you can get and rapidly iterate from there. And I think that was really helpful for us. We had a lot of suggestions in the Discord, and we've taken a lot of them into consideration for the redesign that we're doing. That was one. And the second one was mostly around how we can make the product better, leading up to mainnet, how the ecosystem is evolving, what kind of projects will be there live on day one. So we're working on newer features that will essentially make us be the best trading hub for Monad. We want to eventually be this liquidity layer for Monad, where any financial activity that requires any sort of transaction in terms of exchanging value from one asset to the other, we want to be the ones covering this. And yeah, that's pretty much how we're looking at the mainnet launch.
Beautiful. Well, very, very excited for it. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think
it's gonna be
something.
It will be.
That's for sure. Mainnet will go live. Real money will be at stake. People will be trading real assets on Monad, and it's almost hard to believe, given the amount of time that Kuru team and our team here at Foundation has been working behind the scenes. But lot to be excited for, a lot to look forward to. I know we've had some great questions from the community, and we owe them some spins on the wheel, so we'll probably get to that pretty shortly. But before we do, I don't know, Fravashi, it was awesome to have you on. First ever Monad in the morning, definitely not the last. But Fravashi, Cozy, not sure if you guys have any final thoughts, any tidbits that you wanted to leave the community with.
Yeah, I think firstly, thank you for having me on this Monad in the morning, right? Really appreciate it. I think for the community, I would say we have stuck together for so long, where it's been a while since we've all been waiting for mainnet. And when mainnet does happen, I think the community will look completely different. A lot of new voices will take center stage. A lot of the crypto community is going to notice that, okay, there are these new voices that we should be hearing. And I think these will be the core evangelists for Monad going forward. I'm really excited to see what this new set of voices become. And I think they will be crucial in driving growth and user adoption for all Monad projects, not just Kuru. And I think we want to really heavily index on the community for mainnet.
Yeah, and I've got two quick things. One is we've mentioned a few times, but flip orders just went live. For flip orders, you should just think about this as concentrated liquidity that lives on the order book, right? So this is kind of like your Uniswap B3 experience, where instead of depositing your liquidity and it being spread all the way from like the lowest price point all the way up to bajillions and jillions of dollars, you can say, especially for assets like maybe a stable coin or an LST, or even just assets that you think are going to trade in a range, I want to concentrate my liquidity here and print just like way more fees. So this is live on kuru.io/liquidity right now. We would love to hear your feedback on it, on any of the ways that we can make it better. But this is something new that we just deployed on Monday. So we would love to hear feedback from the community on that. And then Danny, Kev, I've got something kind of big.
Do it.
Just right after this, we are going live with a Kuru X Scrumpies contest that we have going on. And for the first time on testnet, there are going to be guaranteed Scrumpy mainnet whitelists, guaranteed whitelists that are going to be up for grabs. We're going to be running a contest from today until Monday where you can submit art that is Kuru X Scrumpies. The post will go live on our account not long after we get off here. But there's 50 guaranteed whitelists up for grabs and one Scrum pet that we're going to give out to the best submission. And it's literally Mello's only Scrum pet that he has that he's donating to Kuru. So you guys got to get in the game. It's going to be super fun. It can be the most beautiful, cursed, hilarious, funny submission that you can come up with, all different types of art or memes or whatever you want to do. And so we're super hyped about that. So I hope that you guys go crazy with that, and we'll be launching it soon here.
Wow. That is tremendous. There's something for everyone over on Kuru. If you're an artist, if you're a community member, well, they certainly have that covered. DN. I don't know if I need to say anything more than that. But also, if you like making money and providing liquidity, it seems like this is a very good place to do that come mainnet. The flip orders feature is really, really cool. So excited to see how that plays out. I'm not personally aware of that kind of dynamic existing elsewhere. Certainly, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like a pretty big unlock.
It's big. We got Uniswap Pioneer, and then it's very important to have on the central order book side of things. So you got your AMMs, you got your central order books, you got this, which is kind of like a little bit of a middle ground. All the trading needs and all the trading functions that you would like to see, Kuru has built them or is currently building them. Let them know what else you want to see built, and let Mello see your appreciation in this massive Scrumpet unlock, dude. What an announcement. Were you saving that up for the final comment of the show?
Dude, I've been juiced up this whole time, man. This is big. Yeah, dude. There's a little Kuru animation that's going on. It's a banger, dude. Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Let's go.
And that is why you tune into Monad in the morning, because you get the alpha before it hits the timeline anywhere else. This has been such an awesome episode. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate everyone asking questions. We're going to spin the wheel for the community in just a second here. But before we do, huge thank you. Let's get some Kuru vibes in the chat for 0x for Vashi, taking some time out of his day to join us here on Monad in the morning, and Cozy as well. Guys, pleasure. Looking forward to running it back soon.
Thank you, guys. Super fun.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Always a good time. We will have to run it back soon. Like I said, go Kuru. Absolutely love it.
All right, let's get this wheel going.
Let's get the wheel.
You guys
going.
are more than welcome to hang out.
Oh yeah, by all means.
Is that allowed?
We spin the wheel, we give away prizes to the community, and then that's the end of the show. Let me pull up the list here. This might not be in the same order that we actually asked the questions live. And again, for Vashi and Cozy, if you guys do have to drop, no worries, but more than welcome to hang out as we spin the wheel and give away some prizes. First up for Jeezy, who asked a banger question of Armani during the first half of the show for soliciting some advice for NFT founders in the Monad ecosystem. Goodness knows that is a pretty hard task to go and start an NFT project, and Armani dropped some serious alpha. So without further ado,
The
this
wheel's
one's going to be
in your right pocket, Danny.
It's in my right pocket.
Pulled it out of his sock. He's got the wheel on him at all times.
Here we are. We've got a couple new prizes on the wheel. One of which is actually kind of a banger. It is the Lollipop NPC NFTs, which I believe just minted this morning. Shout out Yacht. They're those hilarious memes of different community members and Keone. I think Keone was the original with that lollipop.
Oh, dude,
So
like
we've
the
got
JD Vance one?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
epic.
exactly.
Makes
So,
me think of the Lollipop Kids, that song they sing in The Wizard of Oz.
huh. Okay.
All right, we have not done a 2000s movie reference.
Right there.
but I believe that's a 1930s movie reference. When was The Wizard of Oz? I don't want to get that wrong. Maybe
I think
40s?
1930s is pretty astute. Cozy, what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. No, I mean I'm on board for this. Say, listen, I know James has been giving away cars, guys. I need to buy a minivan. I've got 2 kids. You think there's a minivan on the wheel anytime soon? I might need to come back here.
I think next week we're gonna have a 2004 Toyota Sienna up for grabs just for you,
dude,
Cozy.
You
So,
know what I'm looking for, man. I need an Odyssey, man. This is crazy.
Odysseys are
This is crazy.
bomb proof. Those things will run forever. I grew up in the back of a Honda Odyssey, so I know. This one's for
Sweet.
Jeezy. Without further ado,
Jeezy. Hammer it, Danny. You got it.
Jeezy, how you doing?
For everyone who is testing my movie prowess, it was 1939, so thank you.
Bingo. All right, what do we got for Jeezy?
Hat for Jeezy.
Pipeline hat.
Pipeline hat for
Get
Jeezy,
fitted.
but he posted a picture this week rocking a pipeline hat. Jeezy already has a pipeline hat, so I think we can go two directions.
I
with
don't
this.
have a pipeline hat.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not.
You
my
haven't
problem.
won a spin to win.
That's true.
So Jeezy already
Oof.
has the pipeline hat. Jeezy can either choose, because he's in the chat, he's hanging out with us today. Jeezy, you can either choose whether you would like another spin of the wheel, whatever prize you get is the prize you get, or you can choose another member of the Monad community to receive the hat. And I guess if you really want it, we can send you another one, because those are the rules and you did win it. So Jeezy, we will look out for your answer in the chat, because the show cannot go on until we get an answer from you, Jeezy.
I think he's got to choose soon. Yeah. Jeezy, give it to the community. All
Let's
right.
go. Jeezy. Wow. This guy is for the nads, and we will do just that. So how should we
Decide?
decide? Or I guess we
I-
don't have to decide live on the show.
I think we probably should.
We probably should.
Jeezy,
I
you can
have a game. We haven't done it in a while.
What do you got?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of if we should do the number game or
Oh, good grief.
or some trivia.
The number game just gets arduous.
It gets a little bit arduous. That's a good way to put it.
Let's spin the next one while we think about it.
All right, yeah, who's up?
Okay, next up we have Henry 58290. A lot of numbers in that name, but Henry asks great questions every week. Thank you for being here, Henry. This spin is for you. All right, Henry, what do you
Follow
got?
from APAC.
APAC follow.
APAC
the
follow.
coveted Monad account to get followed by.
58290, picking up the follow from the
Yeah.
Monad APAC account. That
You guys
is
settle down with the numbers.
No,
Holy-
I knew I was gonna be like, I have a game. The numbers are just gonna fly in. Can we put the chat on screen? Actually, that like a hard one with this.
let's
Henry, we
not with
need-
the numbers because it'll break the stream.
That's kind of what I like though, when it's just ripping. Henry, we need your Twitter so we can follow it. Does anyone have Henry's Twitter? Okay, we will find Henry's Twitter as well. What is
next?
all right? I have the piece of trivia. I believe this is early 2000s. I would be extremely surprised if it was not. There is a movie featuring Shia LaBeouf where he has to dig in a desert for treasure. Used to be Camp Green Lake. What is Shia LaBeouf's character's name, first and last name in that movie?
Oh, I got it instantly. That's one of my
If
favorites.
you know the first name, you know the last.
He says Transformers 2. Nope.
It is not the movie. We're looking for the.
Stanley
there it
Ellis
is.
Jungle Trap.
Jungie with the pipeline hat. Yeah.
Jungie. I feel like Jungie definitely has a pipeline hat, but
Someone
I
said
don't know.
Sandman.
Nope. That would be Spider-Man 3, and that is barely early 2000s. I believe that's a 2009 film, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check my own movie history.
I mean, that's pretty impressive to just whip that out and be like, oh, Spider-Man 3, yeah, 2009.
No,
I
it's
think
2007. Actually, I was wrong.
Yeah, 2007. Hit the box office in mid-April, grossed around 150 million.
It actually was one of the highest grossing movies of all time. If anyone has watched Entourage, their entire goal of Aquaman was we got to beat Spider-Man. So it was one of the highest grossing movies, certainly out of the Marvel franchise up until that point. Okay, who is next?
Okay, so we got Jungie getting a pipeline
Wait,
hat.
we
next.
need Henry's Twitter too.
Yeah, Henry
How do we get this?
58290. What is your Twitter?
Can
We
everyone
are-
spam
We
Henry's Twitter?
probably have it from last time in the doc.
I don't have it right now though, and I need to send a message in to get the APAC.
All right.
Oh, he got it. We got it. Sobon got it.
Oh, is it the exact same? 58290. That is his. He's got that barcode. That's Henry's serial number. All right. Next up, we had a great question from Mexi877. Again, that was from the first half of the show. I see Mexi still chilling in the chat. So thanks for being here with us today. This spin is for you. Turbo spin there. What do we got?
Main account follow.
Wow. Mexi877, we need your Twitter. You're getting the follow from main account.
First person to drop it.
Also gets a spin.
Yeah, gets a spin.
Also, I see some folks in the chat asking about prizes from previous weeks. If we owe you a prize from a previous week, you can hit up Savant on Twitter. He is at SSSAVANTTT at Savant on Twitter. DM him, and you have to include the context of what you won, when you won it, and also
VV3M is the one who got a spin for giving Mexi's account first.
Wait, what's the account?
Lacted. Mexi also put it, so I'm assuming it's correct.
All right, let me see. And who is the winner? What did he win?
Main follow.
Main follow. And yes, to close out my sentence, if you DM Savant and you did not win a prize, it will, first of all, be very obvious to us. And two, we will be much less inclined to give you a future spin. So
this future spin, you're banned from the show.
Yeah.
You're banned. You better figure out some way to create a new account and build up some social credibility to get included in anything ever again. Maxie, I just followed you. Let's go. You got the main account followed today.
Bingo. That is what happens when you tune into Monad in the morning.
We are running low on time in the show, and I'm running low on computer battery. Who is the winner of this one?
VV3M.
Oh, another repeat winner. X Premium.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's kind of sick.
Full year of X Premium subscription brought to you by the Pipeline and, of course, the Monad Foundation.
We need your Twitter account.
That's a really good prize.
We'll get you some Twitter Premium for a year.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Danny here.
That's pretty good.
Do we have anybody from last week that's been blocked that we need to unblock? Morty saying that.
No, they have to say for themselves.
Oh, they have
to be in the chat and ask to be unblocked. Those
he
are the
said it
rules.
multiple times.
He says I'm blocked.
Yeah, he said, when is Monad gonna unblock me?
What's his account?
Morty, what is the account?
All right. While we get that account,
this is actually
that account once he sends it.
Yeah,
this is actually a good little tip. You can see us really struggling over here to figure out who's who. If you have name consistency across platforms like Telegram, Discord, Twitter, that is so good for your overall recognizability as a community member, as a brand, as an aura present in the Monad community. So highly recommend, some brand consistency. If you have like 10 numbers and characters at the end of your Twitter name, it's probably going to be an uphill battle to grow that account. So that's my advice for the day.
Who else do we have, Danny? We have a minute left in the show.
We have the name that I cannot pronounce.
Cheyenne. Shy. They said it was Shy.
Shy is much better than
that girl from the bar. Shy.
Shy. All right, this one's for you. Great question about Kuru and some of the learnings on Monad Testnet. Here we go.
Dude, Kosi's just chilling up there.
Dude, I'm literally just vibing right now. I probably should have ducked out, but I'm
no. It's good to have you here, Kosi. What do we got? Respin. Shy. Here we go.
And Morty, you are unblocked as of right now.
Morty, welcome back.
RBS hat.
RBS hat
Sick.
for Shy.
That is rare.
I think we got to take that off because last time he told me that they need to run a new.
They need more hats.
Yeah.
All right, we'll spin it again.
RBS at.
Spin it again.
Preordained. What do we got? Oh, I just moved it. Random testnet NFT.
Maybe it's a scrumpet.
You get something.
Getting a
You
Steve.
get something from Savant's wallet.
Give him a
Maybe-
Steve.
Maybe a Steve. Maybe a
Oh, that
lollipop.
would be brutal.
All right, final spin of the day. This one's for amazing Eric. Eric. I do this every week.
I don't think we asked that question.
I did.
Okay.
Or I asked part of it. This is like 9 questions. Here. This one's for amazing
Kevin just-
Eric.
Follow.
Wow. All right.
Wow. We're giving
I
out
need
the
your
good
account.
prizes today.
Hurry up, drop the
Amazing
account
Eric.
ASAP.
We need your
Gotta
account.
go.
You're getting the follow from Monad main account. And we are 2 hours into the show. We are at time. Congrats to everyone who won a spin. But more importantly, thank you all for being here today. This was an awesome episode of Monad in the morning. Go clip it. Tag the pipeline. Tag Monad. Tag Monad APAC. Tag Monad Eco. Tag Jessup intern. John W. Rich Kid. I'm just kidding. You don't need to tag all those accounts. It's actually not good if you do that in a tweet. But thank you very much for being here. And we do highly encourage you to go clip the show, put it on Twitter, and we will see it, especially those banger clips.
I got it.
Appreciate you all being here today. And we will see you next week on Throughput Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live on the pipeline. Thanks again. Cozy, we'll see you soon. Thanks for
Hit
being
it for
here.
Suki for getting it first.
Oh, yeah. Susky got X Premium. We are giving it out like it's candy, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one place that gives you X Premium for tuning in and finding a Twitter account quick. The fastest gun in the West today was Susky getting X Premium. There you go. Everyone have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.
Later, Cozy.